Hello everyone and welcome to my new video. This time I'm playing Aliens Colonial Marines on the Xbox 360, and I thought I'd do something a little bit different to what I normally do with these playing chats where I talk about topical stuff some of the time. I just thought I'd have a chat about games that come out that get absolutely slaughtered, that aren't actually that bad. Now, this type of thing tends to be a very subjective opinion, because obviously, you know, some people might like a game and other people may not, and that doesn't really matter whether the game's crap or gets crap reviews, should I say, or whether it gets glowing praise. I mean, you see it all the time, especially, I mean, I follow an awful lot of gamers on Twitter, and a game will come out that will get, you know, across the board praise, and there will be people that just don't like it, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. You know, not everybody likes the same kind of thing, and Aliens Colonial Marines was roundly panned, and I think if you're going to look at it from purely a technical point of view, yes, it probably did deserve the criticism it got, because it was a disappointment. I mean, they didn't deliver what they said they were going to deliver, and it certainly didn't match up to the demos that were shown at various expos like E3, Eurogamer, all the various expos that they demonstrated the game at. It ended up looking very, very different, especially on consoles. I mean, I think that part of the problem is, you know, this was coming out towards the end of the last generation of consoles life cycle, and I think that just the development hell and everything that this game went through, I think they just essentially run out of patience and probably time and development money for it. I don't know. I mean, there's so many different theories as to why this game didn't live up to the expectation. I would say the expectation that was fed to us. I don't think it's fair to say that it was all down to gamers' expectation. I think there was a lot of hype and expectation, and when you're shown a demo which essentially isn't what the game turns out to be, I think you've got a case. You know, I think there's a fair case. I think there's a fair point to say that people have a right to be kind of really upset. But when I got the game, I approached the game the same way that I approached Duke Nukem Forever, and was that I lowered my expectations. When the game went into development hell, and I think at one point it even looked like it was going to get canned and not released at all, I just dropped my expectations. You know, I've been through these kind of big build-ups before. I mean, I remember all the way back to John Romero's Daikatana. You know, there was a lot of hype, a lot of expectation. It came out and it was massively disappointing. But I still played the game, and I'm one of them people that usually, no matter how crap a game is, I can somehow try and find some enjoyment to be got from it. And I don't know whether that's because I was used to playing really old and simple games where you had to basically have that kind of philosophy and imagination with very primitive looking graphics and what have you, or whether I'm just a more forgiving person in that sense. I mean, I'm not a happy clappy person. If a game is crap, I'll say it's crap, but I will at least try to give a game a chance. I will try to find the positives in a game, and I did this with Aliens Colonial Marines. I lowered my expectations. You know, I didn't actually pre-order the game. I didn't buy it. Well, I got it at launch, but I got it after I read the reviews, and I read the reviews, watched some videos on YouTube, and I thought, you know, I can see the technical shortcomings, but the main reason I would ever get a game like this would be the atmosphere. Does it make me feel like I'm playing a part? Does it deliver the atmosphere of the film Aliens, basically? And despite the technical shortcomings, I think you have to say that it does. I mean, there are a lot of nods to the film, like here, for example, you know, the sort of schematic map thing that they have in the movie where they're planning to seal the tunnels from any possible alien attack. It's here. You don't see it in the video, but for some reason, I don't know how, I didn't manage to capture it, but you see the face huggers in the sort of storage tubes that's in Aliens. I mean, I'm running around at the moment with Hudson's pulse rifle. You can pick up what they call legendary weapons, like Hicks's shotgun, Ripley's pulse rifle, and this one's Hudson's pulse rifle as well. You can pick these up as, you know, little collectibles throughout the game, but there's a lot of stuff that is from the film, and it is enjoyable. It is enjoyable to see those things. It's enjoyable to walk around the sort of similar environment, even though, I mean, technically speaking, I mean, when you watch Aliens, the movie, the size of that nuclear explosion, I mean, Bishop says it'll be the size of Nebraska. There really should be just powdered dust left on the ground if the proximity of the colony was that close to such a massive, was it like a thermonuclear explosion or something? There would be nothing left from something that size, and the colony itself, I mean, as you can see, this is the actual Hadley's Hope colony that's supposed to have been vaporised. Yeah, it looks roughed up, but it makes you wonder why there was such pressure for them to get out of there, because structurally, most of it, well, structurally, a lot of it seems to be intact, and one assumes that the whole place hasn't been completely irradiated either, because you're not wearing any hazmat suits walking around here. So yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that probably was a mistake was actually placing this as part of the canon story of Aliens. I mean, I don't know how a video game can do that. You know, a canon story has to surely be... surely before you make something canon, it has to make sense in the story. I mean, they resurrect a dead character, which, yeah, most people know who it is now, but they resurrect a character who was clearly dead. And that doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, the way that they explained it, I think it was in the DLC, I can't remember now. They did some DLC. It was very, very feeble. And, you know, there were a lot of things like that. They did a lot of things to annoy gamers, but I think if you go and delve too much into things like this, you can always end up picking fault. Me, personally, I just slap the game in, start playing it, and I judge it on whether or not I got any kind of enjoyment out of it. And I did. I mean, there's a lot of nods to the Aliens movie. There's no two ways about that. And I know that it could have been done better. It should have been done better. But I can forgive those limitations. I can forgive certain things as long as I'm enjoying playing the game. And as long as I found the game enjoyable. I mean, you know, the Aliens AI, and even the AI of your own Marines, I mean, that guy's shooting an alien with a smart cannon. It should have blown up all over me. It doesn't really take much in the way of damage. Like I say, there are a lot of technical issues, but sometimes it's just about looking past that. Sometimes it's just about, when you're playing it, am I having any kind of fun playing it? And I would be a liar if I said I didn't. Now, was it worth the £40 you pay at release? Again, that's something that's subjective. I don't think that you can necessarily say whether something's... Your opinion of the value of something is not transferable to everyone else. For me, it was at that particular time. I really wanted to play the game. And yeah, it was worth it. But, you know, I'm sure you can pick it up now relatively cheap. And for somebody else, you know, if you pick this up for, say, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 pounds, or, you know, $20 or something like that, it'd be pretty harsh to say it wasn't worth it. I mean, even just out of the curiosity factor, it has to be worth it. And there are some good bits in the game. There are some things that are, you know, are well done. I don't think you can turn around and say that the game has nothing that's done well in it. It's just when you have the expectancy of this should have been the definitive Aliens versus Colonial Marines game, and it isn't. I think it's more of the crushing disappointment than anything else that people tend to feel, and I understand that. I've also, I mean, I've got the Alien Isolation game to play. Unfortunately, I can't play it at the moment because it's a Christmas present, and I'm really looking forward to it. And again, from what I've seen of that, it looks like they've delivered the atmosphere of the original Alien movie, which is, again, it's a fantastic movie, and I can't wait to play the game. And again, there are people that don't like some of the elements to it. I mean, it seems to be generally well received, certainly better received than this game. But again, you know, there are people out there, you know, complaining about the save system, and you know, they're complaining that, you know, the game's too long, which I find is a bizarre thing. Sorry, if I'm paying, or you know, if you pay a lot of money for a game, I mean, I didn't in this instance because it's a Christmas present, but I want the game to last as long as possible. I don't understand why people want games to be over quick. I don't get people that speedrun through games. If you're paying a lot of money for something, I want to get as much entertainment out of it as possible. I suppose you could argue about the theory of pacing, but with a game, you don't have to sit and play through it all in one go. There's no requirement for you to do that. You can come back and play it over a period of time. I mean, that's what I tend to do. I mean, I don't think I've ever sat and played a game in one sitting, gone through it all in one sitting. You know, even games that have got a relatively short campaign like Call of Duty, I've never sat and played through it all in one go. You know, I'll play an hour here and there, maybe 2-3 hours tops. But, you know, I'll go off and I'll play other games. I don't sit and play one game continuously. Well, probably Minecraft, but that's only because you know, that game you sort of can get easily lost in it. But for the most part, I don't. You know, I play in sections, in chunks, and so the longevity of the game, I want it to last as long as possible. It doesn't bother me if it's a long game. It bothers me if it's a short game. You know, and I've completed it in sort of 2 or 3 sittings of playing it. That's a disappointment to me, because usually it means that the emphasis then has been put onto the multiplayer element, and I don't like that. I think that the single player element, personally speaking, should be just as important, unless you're talking about a game that is purposely built for multiplayer. You know, games like Battlefield, its heritage was as a multiplayer game, and I can understand, you know, they've kind of tried to introduce a single player campaign in there. But, you know, for the most part, no, for the most part, I want the game to be, to have as much single player content as possible. I want as much content as possible. And if not, certainly have plenty of replayability to it as well. And also, just want to talk about here as well, a lot of people, I saw not a lot of people, but quite a few reviews said that this section where you have the smart gun is an on-rails tank. Like, sorry, not a tank, an on-rails section. That's an absolute fiction. It's not at all. I mean, it has an auto-aim. Well, that's what the smart cannon did. It had an auto-aim. And that's about it. It's not an on-rails section in the slightest. You know, you're still free to move. You can swap weapons. You can free to move the environment. It just has an auto-aim, which is the point of the gun. I just wanted to say that because I noticed in a couple of reviews I read said how this section was cheaped out because it was an on-rails section. It clearly isn't. I mean, I go wherever I want to go in this. It's still first person. I'm not locked down. It makes me wonder whether some people who reviewed it actually understood what an on-rails shooter is. But that's a discussion for another video. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. It was just, sometimes I think, you know, the opinion of a game is always going to be subjective. There are some games that people say are absolutely fantastic, are not my cup of tea, and vice versa. I'm not saying this is a contender for Game of the Year or anything like that. Nothing of the sort. Like I say, there's so many technical issues with this game that, you know, it is borderline ridiculous, but I still got enjoyment out of it, and I still enjoy playing the game, and I still enjoy going back to playing the game, because at the moment I think this is probably the closest representation of playing as a Colonial Marine in an Aliens game. I'm not including the Aliens versus Predators in this, that you're going to get. The only other one that I would say could come close was Alien Trilogy on the original PlayStation. And I think it's on the Sega Saturn as well. That was a fantastic game. I loved that game. But you were playing as Ripley in that. You weren't playing as a Colonial Marine. You know, and you weren't. You know, it was like a completely different storyline almost. But it was excellent nevertheless. But this, at the you know, today is as close as I've got to playing as a Colonial Marine in the Alien universe, not the Aliens versus Predator universe. I'm not counting that in this context. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'm not too sure when my next video will be up, but I'll try and get something together, and I'll try and do something that isn't a first-person shooter. I might, you know, do something a bit different for my next video. But anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned to my channel for more to come.